You're listening to Radio Primavera Sound, proudly presented by Cupra.
Hello and welcome to Line Noise, and my guest this week is the abundantly prolific genre-agnostic garage, dubstep, broken beats, jungle, etc. pioneer Zed Bias, who is this year celebrating, and why not, 25 years of Zed Bias, and we get into what that actually means and kind of why it's the 30th anniversary in the interview. Anyway, I caught up with him when he was in Barcelona to talk about the Milton Keynes Sanctuary, low points, the importance of musical genres, Rick Rubin, and many, many other things. I hope you enjoy it. He's a lovely man. All right, so you're celebrating 25 years Zed Bias tonight. That's basically 25 years from your first record, right?
Yeah, 25 years from my earliest scribbles as Zed Bias in my bedroom in Milton Keynes. Yeah, that's when I started making garage. But yeah, it's more like 30 years of releasing music. I made tracks under the name Almighty Beat Freaks for a few years. So that's, I suppose next year will be 30 years of producing. But yeah, this year celebrating 25 years of Zed Bias all year.
Are you celebrating 25 years of Zed Bias because that was when it all made sense for you, if you see what I mean?
It was really the first time that I'd put out a record that I thought was a record. So yeah, I mean, 99 was when I had a slew of, which we call them mini anthems on different labels. So Locked On, Public Demand, Social Circles, DJs for Life, which was the Dream Team's label. Yeah, so I mean, I had maybe, I don't know, 10 mini anthems selling anywhere between like 5 and 20,000 vinyls. So I think, yeah, 25 years ago I arrived, really. Everything before then was a little bit amateur, you know what I mean?
And you told me this before, and then you told me again, I forgot to hit record, but like, so how did you start off like 30 years ago?
Yeah, so 30 years ago, I was 20, and I was at my first DJ gig at a grotty working man's club in Milton Keynes. I played to about 10 people, and when I left the club outside, the doorman was having a bit of trouble. So I waded in and helped him, and basically got a job out of it. He asked me to come down on Saturday to the Sanctuary and put me on the Sanctuary security team, which I did for, I think, 2 years. On and off, I was doing trips to Germany. My dad's a bricklayer, and I'd go out and do illegal work with him out in Germany without any insurance, go put scaffold up and, you know, all of that stuff. So, yeah, between that and security, I kind of earned enough money to get a little studio together. And I suppose between 96 and 98 were my, you know, they were the years learning the equipment. And 99, I started putting out a load of records. So,
were you making jungle at first?
Yes. Yeah, I was making jungle, and I was stalking the likes of LTJ Booker. We do every now and then chuckle about it when I see him at festivals and stuff. But yeah, I basically was making tracks very, very lo-fi in my friend's bedroom, and believe me, I would never in a million years play you my earliest scribbles, like the jungle that I was making back then. It was more the jazzy thing. We were just talking about Crust. You being a fan of Crust, so I'm a big fan of Crust. I could probably tell you the tune that made me want to make music was Jazz Note. Purely because I had this penchant for jazz, hip-hop samples, so rare groove, funk, you know, ultimate breaks and beats, those compilations and super disco breaks, stuff like that. I was collecting them on vinyl. So it seemed great that there was a practical way I could use these and sample them and chop them up and chop the breaks up. That's really what my focus was back then. I didn't really know what a bass line was, not until much later. But the beats, I started chopping up first on an Amiga. I don't know if you've heard of Steve Gurley from Foul Play. So Steve Gurley's like the guy that brought me into it. He lived on Fuller Slade, that grotty estate that I just told you about. And I used to get 2 buses over to his house with cassettes of my scribbles in other studios. And I don't know how he kept a straight face, to be honest, but he was very, very encouraging. And one day he said to me, something that I clung on to forever. He said, Dave, look, it might not sound how you want it to now, but if you keep going at this for 6 months, a year, every day, just chopping beats and getting better and better, you're going to be one of the best at this. So just keep going, you know. And Steve's a man of few words. So I clung on to that. And I think that was like a little... I don't know. It was like a shot in the arm for me at that time. You know, I'm not wasting my time. Someone's listening. Even though I found the old DAT tapes recently of those tunes, and I wouldn't play them to anybody. Like, not even you. I would not play these. I would not play these tunes to my relatives. You know.
But what was the first tune when you thought I've got something?
Okay, so there was one time a friend of mine played one of those cassettes, a demo of one of the cassettes, on a pirate radio station, and kind of I was so chuffed, even though I'd be mortified now. It sounds rubbish, but that was probably in '95. I made something resembling a tune, you know, with chords and a bass line and all the rest of it. So what happened then? I got the sack from the Sanctuary in around '96, and that was because I would spend too much time out of the country with my dad, making schools and churches, where we made some amazing buildings out in Germany, me and him. But yeah, I came back, no job, so I went and got a job in Northampton. I used to get the train every day from Milton Keynes, and I'd go and engineer at a studio in Northampton where Dougal and Vibes and Breeze and a load of hardcore DJs used to get records made. And because I was pretty good at a sampler by then, using a Akai sampler and Cubase on an Atari, I could engineer quite proficiently happy hardcore and stuff like that. And there was one dread that used to come down the shop called Principal, and he had a mate called MC Juice Man, who I knew from Milton Keynes as well. So we kind of got to know each other even better from that point. But I think within 2-3 months we'd started Sidewinder on the quiet, making out. At first it was like dark jungle, but then Principal took me somewhere. Oh yeah, it was a record shop in Milton Keynes. And we heard a few like of the early two-step things, like LB's, Stone Cold, Groove Chronicles, Stone Cold. That was a big inspiration. So like, you know, 97, 98, I'm hearing my first bits and I'm thinking, I could squeeze what I do into this quite nicely. I like the fact that it's a bit slower as well. It's kind of... And I used to go out raving to garage, like American garage. My very first like clubbing experiences were with, speeded up American garage, Room 2 at AWOL in London. So yeah, I got the skippiness, I got the how to make it, the swing and everything. But what I did was I chopped up break beats, and that's where kind of breaks garage sort of came about. I was doing it with swing, but then maybe 6 months later, Zinc was doing it without any swing, like 138 Trek, and then a load of bingo beat stuff. So I kind of merged into that scene and kind of started making a lot of that as well. And then Forward happened, going on a few years, going to about 2000. And, then that morphed into something else. So it's been kind of, every time I think I am where I am, it morphs into something else. Do you know what I mean? Never really settled into any kind of one style of music for very long. Even when garage, I started having hit records with garage. I was always had my eyes in the distance at something else, trying to do something else. So I've never really kind of sat with one genre. And even to this day, I'm still making drum and bass, dubstep. I made a dubstep track last week with Trim. House music. I've got a house thing out with Jammer from Mass Tempo at the moment. That's coming out 17th of May. I've got a garage remix out today. I've got Terry's remix package out last week. So I'm still like enjoying a lot of freedom, musical freedom, after 25 years.
Where do you sit on like musical genres? Because I know a lot of people who make music don't like labeling their music in any way, which I can understand. But at the same time, I don't know. I think it's kind of necessary.
I think it's unavoidable. I think there's a need for people to know what they're buying into, and that if you go back to the 90s, even the 80s, when dance music started, it was very tribal, as in like you would find the tribe of people that enjoyed what you liked specifically, and there was very little kind of going outside of that, really. If you were a jungle raver, you was a jungle raver. If you were into techno, you was into techno, and the same with happy hardcore and whatever. You wouldn't necessarily listen to all of them. So I kind of got that, and I got that you would need to be kind of strict, and you need to be loyal to a scene. So that's why I made up so many pseudonyms that it confused lots of people, and I was able to have lots of records out in different genres sometimes, but definitely in garage. I mean, I had maybe 10 different names in garage, so I'd have a lot of records on the shelf at the same time. That was my way around it, As far as like musical genres go though, I think if you don't put a label on it, it's going to get lost these days. It's especially in the days of streaming. People, you need to be very specific about what you're giving people, what you're aiming to give people, or they won't find it. So, yeah.
I mean, you've been you mentioned sort of breakbeat garage. That's one of the things you're definitely a pioneer of. Dubstep as well, would you say?
Dubstep happened while I wasn't looking. I'll be honest with you, I took my eye off it for about 3 years, and it was fully formed, and there was a lot of the people in the scene that were doing well, that were lauding me as their inspiration, and that really, it was very humbling, because when I got to find out what it was and how good it was, I absorbed it. They inspired me with that sound. So that again was like another pivotal moment for me as a producer. I found another type of music that I could have an input in, a legitimate input with people's ears, they're listening. And then weirdly I got into house music in a big way. It's probably about 10 years ago now. Started making a lot of house music, playing a lot of shows with Disclosure, Breach, My New Leng when they'd first come out. And then that kind of segued back into garage somehow. I mean, I'm one of these people that just don't have a game plan. There's no agenda. It's how I feel when I wake up in the morning. That really dictates as what comes out the speakers in the studio.
I want to ask about one of those big hits, Neighbourhood. Still your biggest tune, probably?
Yeah, 100%.
It's your only tune that my daughter knows.
It's one of those things that it never got to number one, so it never, completely got rinsed out. But it gets a healthy, every year gets a healthy play on radios across the world. Still get paid pretty good from it.
I mean, it got to, I think, top 20.
25 in the charts.
Did you feel like a sort of pop star in a way?
I hated it. I asked not to be in the video, and they said, "Well, you've got to be in the video somehow." I said, "All right, my eye and my fingers." And I turned down all of the work that was coming my way, so I could work with Juice Man and Principal and Nicky Prince, and stick with my lot. But I turned down sessions with Khalees, Everything But the Girl. They were massive back then, and others. People that they probably didn't stick around for very long. But like newly signed artists, there was a lot of production work put my way. And after a couple of times, I was like, this isn't for me. I need to wake up in the morning and just do what I want to do, and not really see it as a job. So I think that's really, that's how it's lasted this long, really. But Neighbourhood is stayed around in kind of people's subconscious, I think, more than anything. It's like I said, it's not going to be on the radio 10 times a day, but every now and then people will, I hear people whistling it and all sorts, I've actually walked into a festival and seen a rock band covering it in front of my eyes. Like literally, like I'm walking past the stage and they're covering my song with guitars and that. That was in Denmark, of all places. Nothing would surprise me about that tune. I've gone through hating it, back to loving it.
I was going to ask, are you a nostalgic person? Because you're doing the 25 years celebration.
Yeah, I guess I am. Yeah, never really thought of that. That's a good question. I guess that's why I'm doing it. I'm also doing it so I can kind of draw a line under everything I've done and kind of regroup and assess what I'm doing with the rest of my life. I reckon I've got another 25 years left in me.
Don't see why not.
50 years of Zed Bias has got a ring. So that's, we're at half time.
Well, one of the interesting things I think about like someone who's been in it for 25 years is you see trends come and go. And obviously garage was really hot and then it wasn't and now it is again. How do you feel when you see, because I know you were doing lots of different kind of things, but like garage you were associated with, and, I don't know, it was 2004-ish or whatever, it started to really fall off. Did it worry you in any way, or was it just like, on to the next thing?
Well, no, it kind of, it worried me. You can't invest in something so heavily and be associated with something so heavily and see it kind of implode and not be affected. But rather than me kind of licking my wounds and feeling sorry for myself, I just kind of cracked on. And I was making, when everybody was thinking about quitting music, that the ones that were just like, we can't work anymore, there's no work. We set up Forward, and then that gave us, I don't know, like maybe 3-4 years. And then I moved to Manchester in 2004. I sold my house and I spent what money I had making soul albums, neo-soul, jazz. I worked with Amp Fiddler, the Unabombers, started a label called Future Lounge, recorded loads of bands and really learnt my craft. I had a Valve mixing desk, got to know my outboard, got to know how to record drums, violins, horns, vocals, you name it. And then kind of used that around 2007 to make albums again. Got signed to True Thoughts, made a Zed Bias album, re-released my first Mad Slinky album and then made another one. And I suppose that kind of set the stall out then for Zed makes a lot of different kind of music, and there was a lot of collaborations on that. I think it was Biosonic Hot Sauce. It's called Birth of the Nano Cloud. I was in my little comic book stage, and there was some great collabs on that album. Genergy, Scream, Tawia, Toddler T, Mighty Mo. Just really not solid characters, and that it was a really lovely experience making an album and having a label for the very first time in my career, kind of back in my creative process. It seemed that everything I gave to them, they were just like, "Yeah, we'll have that, we'll have that." So that was that was a really nice entry after a few years in the wilderness, shall we say, where I'm just kind of, all right, I don't know what I'm doing, but I've got this money and I'm going to just do what I want. That's what I did. But now I've got maybe 7 or 8 albums sitting there from back then, just waiting for someone to like blow the dust off them. Maybe I'll do it, whatever.
It's interesting because in my head, I really associate you with Manchester. I'd kind of almost forgotten you were from Milton Keynes.
Yeah, people from Milton Keynes never forget. That's one thing I'll give to Milton Keynes. They've always kind of, not forgotten, not turned their back on me, even though I turned my back on them.
Well, I think that's one. Like, did you find that Manchester a very inspiring place? Did it change what you did?
When I moved to Manchester, it was with my friend at the time, Injector. We made stuff under the name Futuristics. So we were signed to Hospital, we were signed to Locked On. And after that, maybe 2004, we started Future Lounge with a PH. And we had a studio that was 500 square meters, quite a big space. And yeah, I was welcomed really, really nicely to Manchester. Mr. Scruff, Marcus Intellects, God rest his soul. Mark Ecstasy, some real like characters, and they kind of went out of their way to make me feel comfortable. Like, you're here now, you're one of us. And that was really, really good. A year after that, I got with a lady, and we ended up having kids, and blah blah blah. So after that point, it was no turning back. You know what I mean? From 2009, I was like, right, I'm a Manc now. Might not sound like one, but I'm a Manc.
See, I was kind of thinking that because you're from Manchester, I know you're not, but I was thinking because you're from Manchester, that kind of gives you a different perspective on things like, I don't know, dubstep and garage, which are always like very London. I mean, I know you're in Milton Keynes, but still it's near to London, but it's kind of far. Do you think like geography gave you a different perspective, or is that just who you are?
Geography definitely gave me a different perspective. I think most people at the time thought that I'd just given up music around 2004, 2005, 2006. If you go on Discogs, there's you can tell there's a period where I'm not really releasing, and that's where I was 80, 100 hours a week in the studio, literally like a crazy man, recording, trying to get better, trying to get a better mix down, trying to, really learning my craft. Manchester's a great place to do that. It rains a lot. It's cold and no one's got any money. You're not going out. So, yeah, it was the right place. I think London is a bit of a rat race. There's a lot of distractions, and I find Manchester's kind of given me the opportunity to just kind of lock away, but also be part of a community that also haven't got that pressure to conform. So there's a lot of free thinking, a lot of free kind of expression in the studios, and there was a lot of exciting records come out of Manchester. My time in Manchester. I find it's a little bit gritty, and they love the bottom end, and they love an MC, an angry MC, but a cheeky one as well. You know, like there's the likes of like Skittles, Chunky. You know, these guys, Fox. You know, I mean, if I had to think about it, I could probably name 20 really great MC vocalists, singers that I've worked with while I've been in Manchester. And you know, you do change when you're working with these people week in, week out. You absorb a bit of each other's vibes. Do you know what I mean? You soak it up. So I think it changed me 100%. But what it did was it made me it made me better. It just made me better. Like, I'm way better at what I do now than when I had my biggest record. Like, Neighbourhood was maybe my third or fourth ever garage track. It came out a little bit after I made it. I made it as a dub plate for a guy called Glenn Woods. He was the guy, the bald guy in the Neighbourhood video on the decks. So he used to be a resident, and he was going out with my sister-in-law at the time. And he asked me to do a dub plate for him. So I said, all right, give me 50 quid. I've got someone coming to the studio tomorrow, and I'll get him to do like whatever with Glenn Woods in the title. Job done. So I made the tune. I got my mate Rumpus and he did I Feel Good. Anytime I come in, I dance. Me have to listen to me, man. Glenn Woods in my neighbourhood, and that's the thing.
Is that what it says?
I'll give you in a minute. I'll send you it. The Glenn Woods dub. So Glenn Woods is the DJ, and he played it. Has his last tune every single week at Casino in Milton Keynes, and there was always a London guest like Mike Roughcut Lloyd, Norris the Boss Windross, Jason Kay, you know, those kind of real like jobbing DJs, motorway DJs, you know, they're eating up the miles, 5 gigs every night. Those guys, we'll talk about them in a bit. Right, but yeah, they used to take this dub plate back with them. They used to give Glenn the money and actually buy the dub plate off him because it was, well, obviously it did its thing. The bass on it was pretty big, so it had a big effect. Yeah, where are we?
We were talking about Manchester, and I can't remember where we were. Anyway, I might remember it in a bit. I can't remember where we were going. But I'll tell you something that I was thinking I wanted to ask. Like you're saying you've done all these hours like learning to record and things like that. What kind of really stands out for you that you haven't done yet that you need to do?
In the repertoire of a producer, or just in general, like, is there anything else, anywhere else I want to go? I mean,
both.
Okay, well, I think I've fully graduated as a producer. Let's say I now teach. I'm a leader in residence at UCLan, University of Central Lancashire. I have done multiple sessions with Red Bull Music Academy over the years. Started in 2002 until around 2012. They sent me right around the world, doing workshops and masterclasses. But now, I mean, I'm mixing and mastering. If you're God, that sounded rude. I was going to say, if you're lucky enough to catch me when I've got time, because you know it is like that. If people want me to mix and master, it's not my job. So I'm not going to sit there and do like 5 in a day to make my wage. I'll sit there until that tune is sparkling, and that might take me a week, but it's because I love you. That's why I've took the job on. It's not a job. So, for example, at the moment, I'm mixing down Jammer, you know, Jammer from Mass Tempo. He's got an amazing EP coming out. And I'm mixing and mastering, but also adding additional production along the way, you know, little arrangement tweaks. He's listening to my advice on stuff like that as well. So it's basically, I'm a bit of a hired gun when I'm needed, and if I really fucking like you, yeah, But apart from that, I'm just doing my own thing. You know, I'm still making lots and lots of records, lots of remixes, producing for other people. I have no clue if I've just answered your question.
I think so.
So is there anything else I want to do in the music world, like in general?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to score a film. I had a go at the man from Tai Chi. They had a sponsored film by Volkswagen Audi Group, and they had, I don't know if you've seen the man from Tai Chi, Man of Tai Chi. It's Keanu Reeves, kind of like a modern day kung fu movie. Keanu's the baddie, plays a good baddie. But anyway, yeah, they gave me orchestral parts, and they gave me the trailer, and I did that, and that was a taste of something I really wanted to do. So hopefully I'm going to manifest this before I die. I'm going to get to do a film. I'd love to do that. I'd almost do it for nothing, you know, just so I can say I've done it. Yeah.
Stupid question, maybe. Well, what do you like when it all comes down to it? What do you think you do best in music? What's that one thing you do? You're like, yeah, I'm good at that.
So if you put me in a room full of people, that whether I know them or not, I'm pretty good at making that room a functional room. The vibe swirling around the room, a little bit of excitement, but everybody comfortable enough to be what they want to be in the room. You know, like I hold the vibe, hold the light in the room, and that's pretty much the best thing I can do at this stage. Executive producing and kind of overseeing projects, and just adding, giving little bits of advice rather than trying to control what's going on in the room and steer it creatively. Just kind of creating an atmosphere where everybody knows that it's okay.
Bit Rick Rubin, maybe?
Fuck me.
Well,
I'll take it, Ben. You know, like Rick Rubin for me is like, yeah, he's like moved on into God stage, God level production. I suppose if I get to be his age that he is now, and I get thrown a Johnny Cash or whatever to produce, then yeah, like, you know, I think you are as good as what you've done in a way. Do you know what I mean? So people can assess how good you are after you've created this thing. I could tell you now that I'm the best person at mixing down in the world. I'm not. But I've mixed down thousands and thousands of tunes and I'm pretty good. Yeah. But I think the USP is actually getting my personality into the room. Yeah. I'm not a stand-up. I'm not going to start making people laugh. But, you know, there'll be a certain amount of hugs going on, a few high fives, a few spuds, and it keeps the energy flowing around the room. And sometimes people just need their ideas just heard. And I do find that sometimes studios can be a bit of an oppressive situation for artists that haven't quite found their voice. There's always somebody there to tell you that your idea is not going to work before they've tried it. And I'd experienced that before in other studio sessions, so I try and be the voice of the underdog in the room a little bit.
Where'd you get your energy from?
My energy?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm thinking all the music you make, you talk about the hours you've been spending sort of, you know, perfecting things after more than 25 years, kind of 30 years. Yeah, where'd you get it from?
I love what I do. Like, I seriously can't even describe it. I jump out of bed in the morning to do what I'm doing. Like, and it's not about social media and it's not about earning money. It's about switching the computer on, firing up Cubase, and there's just all my synapses start firing, and I'm, cup of tea and a spliff later, I'm knee deep in a tune, and I can't help it. What the tune is, it all depends about, my life and the universe. A&R's my career. I for example, I'm meeting you today. You could turn the mic off, play me a tune that you've done. Oh, God, I fucking love that. What are you doing with it? And then we get into a conversation, and then before you know it, me and you are in the studio somewhere making a tune, and I've got another thing that's, out there living and breathing. And this is how my last 20 odd years has gone. I meet people, I resonate with them or not, and I work with them or not. But I've worked with a lot of people just off chance happenings, meetings in hotel lobbies and stuff. Actually, like, I've made tunes in hotels from meeting people like on the road like that.
So, like, what's the longest time you go without making a tune?
Days, literally like a holiday. But even then, I've been known to go in the studio Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. There's no rules. Actually, like, everyone that knows me and loves me knows that I'm never that far away. I can start drifting off mid-conversation because I'm thinking about beats. So it's just better to just kind of let me get on with it, not be offended.
So I was reading that you gave up DJing in 2014. What happened? You're back now, but...
I gave it up in spirit. I was severely depressed. I'd hit a bit of a weird point in my career where if we're going to talk about a high point financially and gig-wise, that was it. 2013, I think the apex of it, where I actually decided I can't do this anymore, was a back-to-back session. The Pagoda stage, Secret Garden Party. There was me, Artwork, Scream, Eats Everything, Breach, Disclosure, and Hot Chip, I think, and someone else that I didn't know. But we're talking like the height of what a lineup could be at the time. And I was there, I was in it. And I'd never been more depressed in my life. So it didn't compute with me. Like, I'd worked my way and really worked hard to get to this point where I'm successful. And now I'm there. I didn't like it. Couldn't work out at the time, but looking back at it now, I just had a severe drink problem. Yeah, a load of problems at home. And, a severe chemical depression, doing extracurricular things I shouldn't have been doing. It ended up as a bit of I'd say, looking back at it now, a bit of a cry for help, actually. It's like, I can't cope. I don't want to do this no more. So I made a live act, which was, I suppose, right, I'm going to give up, but I still need to earn money. I still need a career. So I got a live show together with Close One and Klaus Fuss. They've got a show that they do now, a live show called 111, and it's a label, it's a show, it's a thing. But they're still using the same setup as we use for my live show. When we did it, we put it together, the same equipment and everything. I just kind of left it with them. I loved it. And we did some big shows. Red Bull premiered it. And in London, Ministry was the first show in London. And it was great, but it just didn't have the dynamics that I needed, sound-wise, of dropping in a big tune and getting that, It was more like a loop, a one-bar loop, and I was adjusting all the percussive bits on the fly. So I was making drum loops and everything on the fly just by hitting the buttons on the drum machine. And then on my right, Close One will be dropping bits off a record and CDJ, like little samples. And to my left, Klaus would be dropping loops from another little sampling bit of kit. So between the three of us, we'd get all the sounds of my songs. I put an album out on Loafer's label, Swamp 81, called Boss. And that was basically a live interpretation of this album. So anyway, did that for 2-3 months. and then realised quickly, oh my God, I miss DJing. And it's the other stuff I need to sort out. So I started addressing the other stuff. And many years on from there now, I can speak about it with clarity and without any sort of shame or anything, because at the end of the day, I'm human. And, I went through something that a lot of people would never go through. They dream about it. But, it's like, what do you do once you've achieved everything you're supposed to want to achieve? Like you're driven into this mind space of success is money, success is bookings, success is being on the same lineup as them, success is being on the top of the lineup. And you're kind of coerced into this way of thinking. The way I measure success now is very, very different. Very different. Like having musical creative freedom is my success. Being around for 25 years, that's my success. Being able to weather the storms, the ups and the downs, and still be here, still be effective, still be good at what I'm doing, and still care about it, and still have people's ears. I mean, that's amazing. So I'm celebrating it. So does that make me kind of nostalgic? I don't know.
Because you're doing the 25 years tour and you got a Fabric takeover in May. How do you choose a lineup like that? It's like Kid in a Sweet Shop, no?
The lineup that you see there, I've got working relationship with everyone on there. And I could have tripled that lineup with the amount of people that I know that would have easily played if they'd been available. I'm super, super blessed to be able to do it. It's only took me 25 years to get one, though. I've been bugging them for that long.
One last question, but I think it's going to be a difficult one. We'll see. I mean, you've released so much music, but like, if you had to explain to someone what it is you did, what you do, what tune would you put on?
Oh, bloody hell. To sum up all of it.
Well, I don't think you can sum up all of it, but just be like, well, this kind of represents me. You're going to get a good idea from this.
Oh, okay. You see, I'm one of these guys, annoyingly, that will not... I'll refer to stuff that I've done last week. Like that, this remix that's out today of Tyler Daly's new thing, the Son of Zeus single, for so long. I think that's one of the best remixes I've ever done, and I've done hundreds. Like, I've had literally hundreds released. The Terry Walker album that I did at Christmas, there's a huge part of my heart and soul went into that. And that I'm not charging for these. I'm doing these for love. Got to say, like, I could. They would pay me. They have offered to pay me. They've offered to split the money and all of that. But I do things for love now. That's how I sleep at night. That's how I know I've put enough effort into it. That's how I know the quality of the product is going to be where it should be. It's because I know I've put in. The moment people start throwing pound notes into the equation, all goes pear-shaped for me. So that's where I'm at, really. If people want to see where my head's at, check out the last thing I've done.
And please say, you look like you're in a really good place at the moment, right?
Bad for a 50-year-old, eh? Doing all right.
Thank you so much.
You're listening to Radio Primavera Sound, proudly presented by Cupra.